The Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel mindset.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sentinel Mindset, brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle. We are your Canadian chapter, and today we have a very, very, very special guest who not only we've known for many, many years, we're going to go into that,
a plethora,
but he's also a top-level executive protection agent in Canada, close protection agent for you Americans that think we're saying it wrong. And we're looking at Mr. Shawn Cooper. Shawn, welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
Yeah, like Mr. Shawn Cooper.
Mr. Shawn Cooper.
Yeah.
Shawn has had an extensive background in executive close protection. Shawn has worked with some massive corporate entities. He's worked in the financial, I guess, is it the way we said it, the financial sector?
Yeah, financial sector, financial institutions.
Not as a stockbroker or a trader. But
I'll say specifically, he's the manager of executive protection in the financial.
Yes.
For a specific financial institution.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, he doesn't,
Yeah, and also
he's loyal to one.
That's right. And he's done it all. And he's also had an extensive career of providing protection for many VIPs, politicians, people of importance, whatever you want to call it. He has done it. So Shawn, welcome, man. Really happy to have you on. And, for us internally within the company, we always, kind of like kid around with Shawn because he does have that John Cena kind of look. And we actually call him Shawn Cena.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But enough about
and Shawn. Shawn's a good friend of ours. We've known you for a long time, man.
Yeah.
We're probably a decade deep right now.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
as I like to say, I've been supporting the company, I don't know how many years, but like when we're doing Latin concerts in church basements.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I forgot about that.
He's
in Christy Pitts area.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's right. That's right.
Shout out to Christy Pitts.
Yeah, yeah. And Shawn has been an asset to the organization. Absolutely. Now, we just yesterday, we pulled in last night around 10 o'clock, coming back from the Executive Protection Forum, which was also going on with the Executive Protection Summit.
Yes.
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas. For us...
And it wasn't hot in Las Vegas.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, we were actually... First of all, fun fact, we think it gets too dark here in Toronto around 5 o'clock. Their sunsets were about 4:25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Which then you started to see Vegas come alive at that time, right? And the temperatures were pretty cold. I mean, we were looking at about like anywhere from like 6 to 11 degrees. Sometimes we got about maybe 15 degrees during the day, but it was cool. It was definitely cool. But it was an experience, man. We saw so many people. Before we left, Shawn said to us, "You got to check out Elijah Shaw. This guy's the real deal." And we did. We had an opportunity to meet him. He's such a solid guy, very grounded, and he has an amazing story that we're going to be kind of pushing out.
Yeah, he was one of the keynote speakers there at the forum. Share some thoughts on Elijah, because I know that you've been.
Yeah, you guys have had some interactions.
Yeah. Again, I suck at kind of time frames and stuff like that, but Elijah and I have known each other for quite a while. I think I first met him, must have been in around 2014-ish, 16, somewhere around there. Yeah. So he organized the Icon Summit,
right,
in Orlando, Florida, and that was many strong people in the industry: Eric Conahia, Mark James, obviously Elijah, Rafael DiGiorgio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a three-day summit, and they're talking about everything from, the 4P principle, which is like kind of a blueprint to be successful in executive protection, Benjamin Alosi. He operates out in Nigeria. He was there. He was kind of giving his nuances on what it's like to operate in Nigeria and like a lot of the attacks that he has to deal with when he's with political figures and stuff like that. So amazing weekend. I've been kind of poking and prodding, trying to get Elijah to do another summit. But he's a very busy guy. But yeah, it was just a great event, similar to what you probably experienced in Vegas. It's a networking piece, a learning piece, and it was amazing.
And Shawn, just to kind of elaborate what you're saying, I know one thing about you, and we have a lot of conversations. You invest in yourself a lot. You invest in learning all the time, and that was the theme that we were talking about here in Big. We had a chance to talk with Christian West, and he said that you never too old to learn. You keep learning. You're learning something all the time. You spent thousands of dollars in investing in yourself, and that's opened up many doors and opportunities. Shawn, why don't you tell anyone that's listening? Because the one thing I can tell you is that I'm going to coin a phrase right now. You have the real deal protectors, and then you have what I like to coin today on December 10th is the PPs, the protector posers. Okay?
Yeah.
The people who think maybe doing 2-day sessions.
Can I top you with that?
Taught me.
The pretenders.
Oh,
It's
Or
more to the point. So you got the protectors and
Yes.
the pretenders.
yes, that's right.
Okay.
There's another term too of bodyguards instead of bodyguards. Bodyguards.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you know who you are. You do a not even a detail. You're part of something, and you get someone to take a picture of you, and now you are that person. At the end of the day, these are posers, they're pretenders, they're bodyguards. Shawn, how important is it, in your opinion, since you take this so seriously, and that's one thing I can tell you about Shawn, and Mike, you can agree on this.
I do agree.
In Canada, I do not know anybody more than Shawn Cooper who spends so much time building his craft. I'm talking about everything from the theory.
Let me speak to that.
Right
I
to the
remember there's a
physical.
picture when we first met you and you were at Royal York. You're
Yeah.
part of the Royal
Yep.
York team.
Yep.
Wow, shout out to Royal York.
Yes.
Pre-construction, before they kind of updated the building. And I remember, it might have been Miguel telling me that he's like, oh man, this guy Shawn, and man, this guy's the real deal. This guy like really cares about security. And he's like, yeah, it's like we were in his office earlier, and he was kind of sitting at his desk, and he had a book on close protection. And he's like, look, he's like, he looks the part, he speaks the part, but he's like constantly learning. Like, and Miguel was saying that it was amazing to see that you were on your time, and I think you were on your break, and you decided to just sit there and keep reading about close protection. So like that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then he was pointing it out to say like, look, you've always been a sponge in the industry, trying to find out more, how to have that edge, how to get better, how to be better. You know,
Right.
like where does that come from?
I think my upbringing. I mean, my parents were very supportive of things I did. Whether it was sports. I wasn't the most academic inclined person. I was more athletic and whatnot. But even with my athletics, starting off in hockey, I went the long way around. So I started in figure skating as a little tyke.
Yo, nice.
So started in figure skating, then went into power skating, and then by the time I went into Atom, which is like 5 years old or whatever, like I was skating effortlessly. And I still have like some of the newspaper clippings and stuff like that. Shawn Cooper scores 5 goals and whatnot. And then once I got older, I was playing like all-star or tier leagues. But then not that it became easy, but I lost interest. And a lot of the I was born and raised for 20 years in Peterborough. Peterborough's a big hockey town.
Shout out to Peterborough. Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't pursue the hockey career.
Yeah.
Some of my friends did, and I don't know if anybody made it to the NHL, but they definitely made it to the farm teams.
Yeah, I think that's key because it's high level. I mean, you did high level. It doesn't mean automatically that you're going to take it to the highest level. If you lose interest, it just didn't jive for you. You didn't have the drive for it specifically, which is fine, right?
And even with soccer, like hockey in the winters, soccer in the summers. I went to a soccer school, the Toronto Blizzards, which are no longer. But this is back in the 80s. So I mean, most of the things I've done in my life, I've done like I've been trained, whether I've personally invested in the training or, you know, it was provided for me, whatever. Like I don't think I attempt to do anything kind of half-assed.
Yeah, so you've always been in a training environment, right?
And yeah, so I think it's something that's inside of us all.
Right.
It's whether people, you know, call that out. Like, you know, I'm sure we all know of people who just like things handed over to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like, I got 8 years invested in here. Like, why am I not a supervisor? Why am I not a manager or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't earned it.
yeah,
Time doesn't mean that you've earned it.
yeah.
Right. Well, that's kind of like, I mean, we talk about that a lot. About we're almost now in an entitled era right now, and I mean, we were talking to some peer regional recruiters and inspectors that they were talking about just the mindset, right, and how it shifted. And to me, like that's what it is right now. But for yourself, right, going against that grain and going and getting and bettering yourself has been something that has brought you lots of success. You know?
Yeah, speak to that. I mean, you grew up on a farm,
Yeah.
right? We've heard you many times talk about that. Like, look, farmers are known for their work ethic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, just to kind of set the record, like in Peterborough, you know, we had a big yard. It wasn't by no means a farm.
Okay.
Later in life, my parents bought a farm in between kind of Belleville and Kingston.
Yep.
And, you know, it was a horse farm. So I think at one point in time we had like, you know, 7 horses and maybe 10, 20 cattle. So yeah, there, you know, lots of chores. You know, the horses were being bred. So, you know, you might have to go out early in the morning.
There's
because,
things to be done.
yeah,
Things to be done.
you know, because the mare is in labor or something like that, and you're assisting with the birth. And so, I mean, it's not a dull moment.
Yeah.
No, so, but I've been on the front line with you where when the job's in front of you, you don't waver. So if you know that like it's 7 a.m. and you know you get to site, okay, and you know it's going to be 12 hours of just like craziness, right? I've never seen you be like, oh man, what am I going to do when I'm hungry? Like you go into like the zone of game time.
Yeah,
right?
obviously you have your internal thoughts that like, oh my God, this 12-hour shift is killing me. My feet hurt.
Because you're still human.
Yes.
You still feel. I
That's
mean,
right.
you're not the Terminator. Okay.
But I mean, this right here is your business card.
Yeah.
So it's what people see. That's going to potentially get you work. Like, you know, your resume is going to assist you because somebody's probably going to call you out on your training. And it's like, okay, here's the different schools that I've attended.
So it was, how do you keep it together when it's really difficult? You know it's ahead of you. You're in the middle. Man, you're on that 11th hour. And now it's like the most testing, trying time of that chaotic environment. And like, how do you keep it together? Like, what are you saying internally to yourself? Is it just like, you have to get through it? You have to get through it? Are you telling yourself, you know, anything specifically?
I don't think so. Like, I mean, it's the task at hand. And, you know, that's how I've always kind of gone about things. Like, you know, the one incident, I think back in 2017, where, you know, we were providing close protection to, you know, a fair number of actors.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of a hiccup that happened. And I remember you and Joe came and to the site that I was working at like 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, hey, Shawn, we're going to pull you from here. We need you to go and advance all these different locations.
Right.
This is the person that you're going to be looking after for the next 5 days.
Right.
Internally, I felt the pressure.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh God. Like,
yeah. Nothing ideal about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, then I also had the secondary thoughts of like, okay, because there was an issue, is this person going to hold it against me, even though I'm a different person?
Right.
But I went in with the mindset of like, okay, I have to perform.
Yeah, I'll speak to that too, just to give some context. The detail failed. Someone got fired off the detail. Shawn was asked last second to come in and fill in, knowing that there might be really bad reputation, really bad taste and experience in the client's mind. It was an A-lister, probably the biggest talent in the festival that year, right? So the stakes were incredibly high. You knew that you could not just go in on autopilot and just wing it, get it done, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I went out and did the advances, and then the next day, I went to the location where I was supposed to meet them at, and they buzzed me up, went onto the floor, noticed that the door was ajar, and knocked on the door, and the
sounds like a
A-lister answered the door, which kind of threw me back because I thought somebody else would answer the door.
Yeah.
This is like when Travolta met Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. I just watched it on the plane last night. Go on.
But yeah, so I mean, the A-lister, no concerns, no issues, and I guess the analogy that I came up with was just there was a fumble on the play. I had picked up the ball and I had to run it back for the touchdown, which I think I did.
That's good,
yeah,
man.
Absolutely. I mean, we can validate that you did. It was 100%, amazing.
100%. Shawn, going back just maybe like 5 minutes where we're talking about all the development that you've done and the network that we've done, and also following by Mike, bump with the Elijah Shaw meeting him. Okay. How important is it to go out and hone your craft and also just to network? Has that opened doors for you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's a saying which I think was coined by Eric Konahia. And I apologize, Eric, if I get this wrong.
Yeah, paraphrased. Yeah, always, man. When you're
but
quoting,
it's like you're only as good as your network. So just meaning that, like, you can be a star in your city, town, whatever, but there's only so much to pick from. There's only going to be so many jobs that come through there. However, your network, which may cast to, several different countries and continents, those people may tap you because they're coming to Toronto, or, maybe
or vice versa.
Yeah, maybe they're like, hey, I want you to help me with this detail. And, like, I know Elijah, he's reached out to me before with a, very, very popular musician. And it's an industry that I don't really get too involved with. So I felt uncomfortable with that. And, there was talk of different threats and stuff like that. And, going to different sound checks.
Sometimes happens with musicians.
Yeah. We went to the sound check for, it was an OVO event. And, there's all these other musicians and, a plethora, if I can use your word. A plethora of celebrities.
Yeah.
Backstage at what was then called Molson Amphitheater.
Right.
And I was nervous. I knew my task. I knew that I had to get this person from point A to point B, and that he was going to go on stage and perform with Drake. And, he's up on the edge of the stage and, close to people that could, like, maybe swipe his feet or something like that. But it's amazing that Elijah was at the same event with his client. And as I'm walking through these dark corridors, this hand extends from the shadows and, shakes my hand, and I kind of, wake up and I see Elijah, in front of me. And after that moment, it was just like, that was what I needed. I needed that kind of reassurance that I was able to perform. I was in the right spot.
Right.
And, the rest of I was with this person for 3 days. The rest went amazingly.
I'll speak to that kind of going back another 5 minutes from this point, where you had mentioned, when I had asked you how do you do hard work, how do you prepare? Basically what you said is you just do it, right? And I'll say this, there's a secret. The secret to getting hard work done is to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's your dishes, attacking your basement that is in shambles, whatever. Once you start, stuff starts to happen. And I think that's a reminder, your mind can play tricks on you. If you have a mindset that can bring you into circles and to really focus, it can also, you can unravel in the mind first. And to those listening, I'm pointing to my brain right now. And if you unravel there, you'll see it in your action. right? You know, so I think one of the best ways to get something done is just to start to do it.
Yeah.
Don't think too much.
Yeah, I was
right?
just going to say that. Don't overanalyze. Don't be critical. Like, sure, you can break up any task into smaller tasks to complete them easier. So, you know, you attempt these small tasks first.
Yeah.
So that overall you're
Which
going
is a
to,
good tactic. Absolutely.
Yeah. But as you said, the mind is very powerful. Your mind can make you think that you're sick. Like, you know, you have a cough.
Yeah.
And then your mind starts taking over. Like, oh, you got COVID.
Well, it can be debilitating, and you're
yeah.
in a different environment, not normally conducive to what you do for protection, but you still know the art of protection, right? And I think that's what Elijah's hand is kind of validated to you. Like, yeah, you know what to do. It reminded you that you know the world, and even in this new territory, it's all the same principles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shawn, do you, like, obviously I know you probably know the answer to this, but I've noticed there's a lot of people that feel that this job is easy.
That's a good,
that all you got to do is just put on a suit and walk with a talent from A to B. And that's all it really is.
Yeah, put on a suit,
yeah.
have a furrowed brow, like you have laser focus.
And I always put your
touching your ear
Yeah.
as if you're like you're listening to something,
Yeah,
or you're
exactly.
in the studio booth singing.
talking to God in the sky.
Yeah.
What should I do?
Even though it's only you on the detail, there's nobody that you're talking to, but you still have a headset.
That's
in.
right.
Hey.
So for those people that think this job
Hold
is
on, I
easy,
gotta say that there's once I came across a guy, and I asked him, I asked about his team. It wasn't someone, a sentinel, and I asked about his team, and he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, like, who do you have? Like, who do you have outside on the curb?" And he's like, "Oh no, it's just me." But he had his earpiece. So I said, like, "Who are you on radio?" And he's like, "Oh man!" And he opened up his jacket, and he just had the earpiece connected to nothing. It went into his pocket. He didn't even have a
Just a look.
oh, God bless you.
Don't you love it?
God bless the
Anyways.
shenanigans that happen every
So you're
day.
saying, okay.
Yeah.
So people think it's easy.
People that think it's easy, and they look at you and be like, "Oh, just Shawn's just walking with a guy on stage, right?" What would be the message to people that look at this work and they literally think it's easy peasy? I can do this. There's nothing really to this. I just got to make sure my suit looks good. I got a nice fade, and I'm ready to go. What would you tell those people?
They need to do some more training.
Okay.
Because there's many factors that you have to look at, and you know, whether it's your kind of full-time client, whether it's somebody that you're looking after for, you know, a temporary period of time. The temporary person, you're not going to know, or you probably won't know as many details about them, like if there's any food allergies, like, you know, personal information. So
you're basically saying there's all these layers beyond just what's in front of you.
So,
right?
I mean, essentially, you are just kind of making sure you know their agenda or itinerary for the days that you're looking after them. And I mean, you know, these protectors should be always kind of role playing in their mind, like while they're with these people, like
vivid imaginations.
Yeah, like you're escorting them to a vehicle. You can only see kind of like the rear end of the vehicle. What happens if somebody has, you know, scooted around the front and they're coming on your blind side? So, I mean, you have to be able to kind of pull yourself away from that narrow vision and see the whole sheet of ice.
Right.
So, you know, if you're a defenseman, you're behind your net with the puck, without even looking up, you know that your two wingers are skating up the boards, and your center is going to be kind of, you know, doing circles in the mid ice. So, you know, you just skate around your ice or skate around your net and fire it up the boards to your winger or whatever. Like it's a very fluid dance.
Right.
Everybody knows their position and
roll.
Yeah. So like, you know, a lot of these solo protectors,
AKA Lone Rangers.
You know what?
yeah. And I mean, most of the details, I would say, are solo, because some of these companies don't have the budgets to hire, you know, a 3-man, 2-man team or a 2-person team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is on your shoulders, but that's when your role becomes even more important.
How have you seen it? I mean, you asked the question. How have you seen someone misjudge the demand of what is required? Because it's true. The guy who's just standing on stage looks like he's just standing on stage. Right. So it's easy to say, I could do that.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I can put a suit on and just kind of follow a guy.
Right.
What's your take on that with handling?
I mean, look, we see hundreds and hundreds of people every month. A lot of them, one of the biggest reasons why people come and join our organization is because they want to get in the executive protection division. And they're always told that, especially when they're coming in with no experience, that based on your body of work and who you are, if we find that you have what it takes and we can see work ethic and we can see humility, what we'll do is we'll pour into you and train you and get you ready for that. Mm-hmm. But when you're looking at people all the time, is that it's kind of like what everyone sees in life. They look at that person that's well off. They look at a lot of things. I want that, and they've kind of missed step B to X, and they want to get to Z. They've seen it, and we can easily identify that. And the biggest way you can identify that is basically just their mindset.
Yeah.
Their mindset is very, very like aware. So for me, like when you're asking how we can see, you can see that. You can tell when someone is doing something that they're not qualified for because of how they're doing it.
Yeah, I guess you're saying that there's a lack of, they're not preparing for the journey.
No, it'd be like
they're not acknowledging it's a journey. It's like someone saying, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, and they got their little backpack.
Right. It could be like,
Okay.
hey, you know how to shovel snow? Yeah, okay, great. You come back and you're shoveling with a spoon. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
You said you can shovel snow.
You don't know-
I am shoveling snow.
You don't know the gravity
you're
of the
not.
task.
Yeah, they don't know the gravity of the task, and they think it's easy work. And I can tell you from the business back end of it, which Shawn, I'm pretty sure you can share as well. We've had conversations. This is an industry. This is the protection world where there's like almost no room for screw ups. Like,
No, you'll have that one opportunity to screw up,
right.
and that will be it.
Right, and
That's a good way.
No, 100%.
That's a good way of saying
someone
it.
once said it when you get one F up card, and that's it.
Yep.
Once that's gone, but by the way, it depends what level
What
of
it is.
degree of what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because and it's not just me as a protector. If I screw up, I should be concerned about that, because now I could have harmed the client who I'm looking after, their brand or reputation.
Yes.
I've definitely damaged my brand reputation.
Right.
And if I'm working for Sentinel,
Yeah.
I've damaged your brand, because you're gonna get calls from, these security managers
Right.
that have, given you the contract to look after this person.
Right.
So, like, yeah, you can't afford to screw up.
You
no,
can't.
and just Mike, sorry, just
Yeah.
One of the things I want people to understand that are coming to a company like Sentinel, as an example, who provides protection work. We want to sleep at night knowing that the client is being taken care of. So, for example, when I give a client, when I give a request, I say to Shawn, and Shawn takes care of a task, I don't have to worry about, is Shawn going to mess up? Is this good? Because Shawn is a professional. Shawn has a body of work. If someone thinks that we're going to give them some work and they've never really done it, or they're so new in the game, it's almost like you're giving them like this opportunity to say, throw all this money into a stock you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that loss. So for me,
Yeah.
that's where the training, that's where the mindset, that's where that comes into play. And I'm just saying this, you guys need to see, you're seeing it from your level. Look at it from the business side right now. Why would we put all our stake into you when we don't know your body of work?
I mean, part of it is that's where humility comes in.
Right.
If you're not having all these details thrown at you left, right, and center,
Right.
maybe there's a reason why, right? If you want to be good, ask the question, what could I do to prove more faithful? There's
That's
something
right.
that I could do that I can exhibit now so that you guys will trust me with more later.
Right.
You see the guy, like Shawn worked that detail for those 5 days. What's he doing that I need to do?
Right.
Okay, versus trying to tear someone down. And I'll say that to all. I mean, this is good. I'm getting a little amped up right now because
Yeah.
we've had years of like just whining and complaining.
Right.
And I get it because everyone wants to do their best, but in a performance-based environment, because protection is a lot like high-level sport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it should go to the details should go to the ones who are most suitable to perform that task.
Look at sports, Mike.
Yeah.
Does if we look at basketball or football or hockey, the coach is not putting on the team that can maybe get a win. He's saying, I want the win. I want the best on the job right now.
Yeah.
Right? And if I mean, look at the Raptors. If anybody follows basketball, you have a lot of new people that are coming on, and they're getting a little bit of minutes with the top level guys.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll do as a company as well. If we're going to do a detail and it affords it where we can have two people, we'll have an experienced agent like Shawn, and we'll put someone else in with him so that has had that training, but now can get that on-site training that will
That development, that experience.
that'll develop that. And that's the thing. But that's what I would say to that.
But why waste any time crying, woe is I? I should be doing this. I should be doing that. That's such a waste of energy.
Right.
Right. The guy in sport who doesn't get the minutes, he's going to get minutes because he's complaining. He's demanding, or even saying, "Come on, be charitable, coach. Get me in there, please." No. Right. There's any coach with any that knows what they're doing would not respond to that.
Look,
right.
And you see these players like, your LeBrons or whatever who, are up for debate if they're the GOAT of,
Yeah.
Yes.
Greatest of all time to
Yep.
those who don't know sports.
They're not.
But
It's Jordan.
he's
Yeah. That's another podcast.
he's on the court
Yeah.
before the game, taking shots, free throws, that, like, he doesn't have to do it,
Not at all.
but in order for him to perform at that level, he's got to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
His workout routine at home, like, he doesn't sit at home, play PlayStation, NBA 2016 or something like that. Like,
Right.
he's,
Again,
Yeah.
going back, invest in yourself.
yes, if you can't invest in yourself, why should anybody else?
Exactly.
Oh,
there
there it
you
is.
go.
Sean.
There we go.
Sean,
Boom.
that-
Mic drop.
Mic
I mean,
drop,
these
yeah.
don't really drop because we got some good arms from Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, through my years assisting Sentinel, I've had people approach me and almost want to set up kind of like a mentor type thing. So I'll do some probing questions
Hey,
to see.
we never approved that. Just joking.
Yeah. Yeah, you-
No, I actually think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I'll ask some probing questions like, what is your goal? Like, you should have short, medium, long-term goals. So something that you can achieve within the year, something that might be a 5-year mark and beyond.
And a decade on.
Yeah. But I'll tell some of the people, like, there's many videos on YouTube that you can watch, from, Secret Service formations to some other, top performing companies. There's, books and books and books of, Kristen West, Elijah, all these people
Yeah, there's some
are
amazing
giving
people.
you their knowledge,
Yeah.
their
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is
And some of the best are the most generous
Yes.
with what they know. Yeah.
put your money down, pick up the book. It's not going to be life experience for you, but it's going to be knowledge that you can retain.
Yes.
And then when you're out in the field, you can say, "Oh yeah, I remember in Elijah's touring handbook, he said,
Yeah.
to do this, or this is a tear out checklist that's in the back of the book."
Yeah.
So if you're on tour or if you're doing something, you can,
Yeah.
tick the boxes to make sure that you have your first aid kit.
Yeah.
You have, whatever.
Anything. The dynamic
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
detail this is where it can get side railed.
You know,
or
you know
derailed.
what the problem is? One of the biggest problems that I find in this industry, the protection industry, is that people think they know what they think they know that they want to be an agent, but they don't know what the world exists, right? Like, they do not know what it entails. And I'm going to give you an example. We had an individual that said, "I want to be an executive protection. I want to be a specialist. I want to do this. This is everything in my fibers." And we said, "Okay."
I was born.
Yeah,
to
I was
do this.
born to do this. I was born to be a protector. And he said all the right things. And okay, so this is what it's going to entail. And I remember in one of the sessions, the director was asking questions. He was saying, "Okay, let's talk about availability, guys. If I ask you guys to go right now, to head out, and do a detail next Saturday
With 24 hours notice.
yeah, show me your hands." They all put their hands up. Okay, so now I have one that's going to take 3 months. You're going to pick up and leave in 3 months. Are you able to do that? And then now the hands went from 10 to like 5. And this one individual kept on keeping his hand up for everything. Well, lo and behold, the following week, he said, "You know what? Let's try this out. There's a very small detail, very small. Let's see if he's able to do this." So we called him up and said, "Here, man, we have a detail for you. Go ahead and do it." And he goes, "Okay, who else is going to be here with me?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Is there anybody else that's going to be with me on this detail?" I'm like, "No, it's just you."
Which is 99% of most details.
Which is 9%.
At least right now.
And he goes, "I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that." And I remember in my mind thinking, and I didn't tell him to this, but that was the last time we ever used him at all for anything on that end, is that, people think they know the world and they want to jump into it because they see what they see on TV. They see Shawn or an agent walking with a celebrity and they say, "Wow, look at that," right? What they're not realizing is that you're just seeing maybe like a tenth of what the actual job entails.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They're not looking at it full scope.
They're not.
Look, remember, you got to for that, the remedies, you got to curb your enthusiasm. It's good to be ambitious and to be zealous, but you have to look at it with a lens of reality,
Right.
right? That to do a detail is difficult.
Right.
Right. And I think, I wanted to ask you this, Shawn. I had the privilege of working a really, a short detail with Shawn years ago, and it was with an Oscar and Grammy award-winning artist and composer who we found out showing up that had a very viable death threat on his life. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. When you walk into a detail and you have to look after someone, and remember his camp wasn't the best camp at communicating and sharing what's happening, and when you're tell the audience these sober moments, because these are the details people aren't lining up to work.
No.
You get what I'm saying?
They're seeing jets and
the flash. I mean, anyone could want that. I mean, let's quote Mike Pannone, who said that he looks for the guy who will love the work even if he is just the advance agent.
Yeah.
When no one ever sees him with the principal, but he's a
Right.
huge integral
Yep.
piece to the whole team. He goes,
Right.
those are the guys that do incredibly well.
Right.
Because everyone wants to be kind of in the spotlight, right?
Yep.
So when you have a detail like that, your client has a death threat. It is a viable one from inside the camp, and you have sparse information on how to actually protect them. Camp isn't even working with you. Are those the days you love being a protection agent?
It definitely wakes you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if the client's people aren't giving you the information that you need, and they're not, like, if it was a email threat or whatever, like, they're not giving you that information, so you can't even analyze how the letter is written.
Yeah, but I would say to you more specifically, what's it like for you in that sobering moment? Okay, all the training, everything that you're doing, just give us an idea of what it's like when you're faced with something that is a real threat when you're doing this work. Okay, and it's not your suit and tie combination and how good you look. It's like the last thing on your mind.
No, and I think there is that brief period where you're scrambling. So it's like, okay, so this event's taking place at the Sony Center. And the capacity, that there's an upper balcony, that there's a lower balcony. There's no searches being done. People are showing their ticket and they're walking in. So there is that concern. We were working with a team of in-house security, so you're positioning them in kind of like the most advantageous spots that they can kind of see the whole audience.
And you're hoping they're taking it seriously.
Yes,
And
yes.
Right.
And I mean, where we are, if we're kind of off on like stage left, stage right, kind of in the shadows so people can't see us, but we're monitoring for movement and stuff like that. Sometimes all you have is that movement. Because I mean, as a protector, we might not be successful because we're reacting to a situation.
Yes.
So
you're okay. See, going what Constantine had said about the basketball coach, his objective is to win.
yes.
Right.
If you lose, there's another day in sport.
Right.
In protection, if you lose, you could lose someone's life.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so just give an idea from you personally, aside from anything outside of what the building or the assets on the ground give you. What's it like? What's going on with you? And I think it's important for people because people can idolize or fantasize what it's like to do protection. What goes on in your mind, and how do you feel at the end of a night like that when you have your principal back in their room and you're driving home? Okay, and
Yeah. So I mean, you're what I always do is I'm always playing like a what if game.
yeah,
So when I'm doing the advances, I'm trying to get a feel of the venue, the hotel, whatever. So I'm always going through my checklist, and then I'm also applying the what if. So, okay, they have a fire system in place. It's a 2-stage alarm system. There's an announcement. Security goes and investigates the alarm. What if?
yeah. What if the house goes black all of a sudden? Power,
Exactly.
right?
So it's a constant. You're assessing all the time.
So you're not just standing there looking left and right and
No.
keeping a good backbone of posture.
No, and I mean, maybe you're looking for clues from your client too, depending on the relationship that you have with them. If they are comfortable with you, or if you've kind of set up kind of pre-event indicators, like, if they feel uncomfortable, maybe they squeeze their hand rapidly or something like that.
Yes.
Or, they do something to alert you that something's off. I don't feel right. And, maybe that's a signal that they're about to walk off stage.
Yes.
But yeah, so, I mean, it is a constant assessment. And you're scanning and you're scanning, and there's different trains of thought on scanning. Like some people will scan immediate people first and then work their way to the background. Some will start with the background, work their way to the front. I think for myself, I'm just kind of scanning, but concentrating more on movement and body position, because body language is going to be the main signals. Like if somebody's going to throw a punch at you, they have to clench their fist, they have to cock their arm back, and then they have to...
Yeah, you're looking for these key indicators,
Exactly.
right? Which are very subtle when there's an attack, right?
Course that I did with Elijah, he had teamed up with Bob Dugan, and Bob Dugan is an expert in micro expressions. So, the face holds a lot of secrets. Before somebody does something, there might be a little twitch in the mouth, the eye, something.
Their intention betrays them in the moment.
So when Secret Service are with a presidential detail and they're doing, they're walking the barricade and the president's shaking hands and stuff like that. Secret Service are watching body language, but they're also watching micro expressions. They're watching hands, because hands are usually going to be the tool that's going to deliver the assault.
Yes.
Right.
And
That's how you hurt someone else.
The Secret Service also have what they call the hunters. So they're people that are inserted in the crowd.
Yeah, sleeper agents.
Yeah, and they may accidentally bump into somebody that's showing awkward body language.
You spill your coffee on them
and
by
they'll
accident.
they'll give them a quick give them a quick tap down.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
No,
I want to ask you. Okay, so Jackie Davis.
Yes.
Went amazing, man. She's a G. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing to get like just straight goods, no fluff, just like everything she said was like a punch in the gut, right?
Yeah, she was really good.
But you can take it because it has a British accent, okay, like wrapped around it.
Yeah.
Pablo from EPL Mexico, okay, which we got to get Pablo's last name. Apologies, Pablo, your family now. We got to get your last name down. He had shared it. Christian West had also shared it, and it eked out. And look, it was those three are non-Americans.
Yeah.
And in Vegas, they had said publicly in the global forum, as well as us in private conversation, about being able to do protection at a heightened awareness because you're not armed. Okay, and this is stuff that we've talked about before. Okay, again, to the American audience who's listening, welcome to Canada. Hope you can take the altitude up north, okay, and the cold. But they, Pablo specifically said in Mexico, which we kind of all agreed, and we did our own little kind of our own little consensus there to get an idea. Everyone generally agrees Mexico is more dangerous than America.
Right.
And Pablo had said, of the agents that work in Mexico, when they have a firearm, they can get lazy. It is, I guess, what's the word? What would you call it? It is maybe a Hail Mary or last resort tool that they lean on too heavily, and you can take it for granted.
Right.
And he said those who work without it, they have a heightened awareness because they don't have that tool. So I wanted to get your thoughts. I know it's switching gears a little, but I know it's passionate for you that you're not about the firearm.
Yeah.
Okay. For those listening worldwide, welcome to Canada.
Yes.
We're not legally allowed to protect with a firearm, at least right now in 2021. Your thoughts on that? Why does it? Why? Because I know it's something for you.
Well, I mean, if we can kind of back up a little bit, so
Move the mic over, maybe just scoot it this way, and then we'll get you better. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
When we were looking after a MLSE contract, we would have I think a team. If there was a major sporting event, we'd have a team of like 22 people in there. So I was a manager of that venue. Often, Toronto Police would be in there assisting us with different things, and the number of times that a police officer or recruiter would ask me about, hey, how come you're, not with us, kind of thing. And for me, the biggest factor is that I didn't want to have to be put in a situation where I may have to draw my firearm and take somebody's life.
Yeah.
I don't know how I deal with that. I don't know consciously how that would affect me.
Yeah. I think it's
So-
amazing that you even thought that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
some people won't even consider that that might be the job one day.
So
Yeah.
that to me was a big enough reason not to pursue police.
Yes.
I started in Canada Customs out in Gananoque.
Shout out to Gananoque. Okay.
And like border agents at that time weren't armed. I think we had pepper spray, but
Okay.
they didn't have sidearms or anything like that. But it's like, I guess I'm about to go all over the place here.
Right.
So my experience at the border, coming in, I think that was like 1999, 2000. I'm kind of fresh out of college. I was given an opportunity to be a student officer at the Canada Border Services. And I went there and, after the training and stuff like that, then I started looking at the facility and the process that we do. So we'd have a lot of hunters from Pennsylvania crossing the border, going over to Quebec to do some bear hunting. They would have their SUV loaded up with firearms, long guns, short, sidearms, lots of alcohol, that type of thing. And Murphy's Law, one of those people in the vehicle would have some kind of criminality on their record. So now they're inadmissible and have to turn around and head back to the U.S. So thinking outside of the box, which I think, is a point for all protectors. Don't look at things as how they are. Kind of, think outside the box. So
Not just at face value.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I put myself in these people's shoes, the hunters. I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm going to drive Bob all the way back to Pennsylvania and then turn around and come back.
Yeah.
And, I happened to see that the process at Canada Customs, when you're refused, they would hold on to your license, and then you have to come around this back door, come inside. They give you a paper that you're supposed to submit to the U.S. agents, and they give you your license and tell you to, see you later. Sorry that we couldn't accommodate. So now it's all on trust that you're going to drive back. Your vehicle is still pointed towards the Canadian side. And I saw people like crumple up that piece of paper, toss it in the garbage, and they proceeded to Canada. So I went to my supervisor and I'm like, okay, this is happening. We're supposed to be protecting the border. And it was almost like they didn't know it was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of me, maybe it was just fresh eyes. The supervisor, then we started kind of escorting people, to their vehicles, making sure they turned around, stuff like that. I think they employed a camera so somebody in the office could also see.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of amazing that young Shawn Cooper with no law enforcement or real security experience saw this vulnerability, reported it, and then they implemented a measure to kind of protect against that.
Yeah.
So now going back over to firearms, with my corporate job, often I'm going to Mexico, Colombia, Chile, Peru, Israel, and there's scary conditions there.
Right.
My first time in
It's not Peterborough.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's like, should this little kid from Peterborough be doing this?
Well, you're not that little, but that's cute. Okay.
But my first time in Colombia, one of the guerrilla groups, the FARC, they had detonated a bomb in the financial district. It was like a retirement savings area, but that was the area that we had to go into. So we met with some Canadian embassy people at the hotel, and they told us to kind of stand down, but we had to go in the next day because that's our whole reason for being there, is to do in advance and make sure that it's safe for our executives who would be coming a few days later. So there is that concern. Like speaking to some of the locals there, they were afraid that there was another bomb and they didn't know where it was going to be detonated. So like these are the things you have to think about as a protector. And, maybe you're not going to Colombia. Maybe you're operating in Toronto, or you're operating in New York. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You know something is going to happen at some point in time.
Now, so how do you, now if you don't have a firearm, answer the question, how do you protect them?
Just for myself, there's only certain tools that I can carry with me legally. So, one is a flashlight. So I have like a almost 2,000 lumens flashlight. So, if I can blind somebody, it's also got a nice striking bezel on it that if I have to use force.
Yes.
So, I have that tool. But this is the biggest tool you're ever going to have.
And he's pointing to his brain, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, left hand pointing to the left side of his brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all the left brain people out there.
Your experience,
Yeah.
your training. This is why you train for events that could go south.
Yes.
Because when you get the tunnel vision, when you get the adrenaline dump, fine motor skills you're not going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna resort to your last training. So that's like.
And by the way, just in reference to what you're saying, what Jackie was also talking about back in Vegas was that just for those that think that well, it's impossible to do the job without a gun. Did you know that you cannot? Is it the police agency? The police in the UK do not carry guns. I'm going to repeat that one more time. The police force in the UK, United Kingdom, for those that don't know what UK is, they cannot carry guns. They carry their billies, which are their batons. Okay? So I say that to you because if they're able to effectively do that, then why should anybody else? The other thing that they mentioned was that the big thing that they deal with down there is more knife attacks, okay, than it is with guns, right?
Yes, and the UK criminal gets really creative sometimes.
Yes.
And that's what they're known for.
Yes.
Okay, because they don't just they can't do that.
Exactly. So
what did Jackie say about do you remember what she was saying about police? How they have to police then? What they rely on heavily?
The communication and their languages.
Yeah, and intelligence.
Intelligence, yes.
Yeah, they have to navigate. When you point into their brain, they have to play chess in a checker game.
Right.
Okay. Right. And that's the way that they protect. Again, because you could take it for granted that whatever happens, I got my firearm, and the firearm will solve all the problems that I've let encroach and get way too close.
Right.
Yeah, and you scroll through Instagram. Some of these different protectors, local, U.S. based, wherever. Many of them focus on a firearm. Mm-hmm. Like whether it's a still photo of them, hanging on to the roof racks of a Suburban, and they got their firearm in their side. It's a promotional shot, but what's the message what's the message you're sending out?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're bad because you got a gun and you can protect whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you talk to other protectors, the moment it goes to a gun battle, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like your advance work is more important, so you can kind of discover these choke points or discover what areas of concern are out there.
Yeah,
Right.
I want to quote. A good friend of ours, Hatem Amin, who was, did diplomatic protection. He was part of the teammate for the U.S. Embassy in Cairo. He would tell us often that if they fight, that they've lost. The fact that they've had to fight, if they had to stand up and fight and shoot, counter to an attack, they've lost.
Yep.
Because there's going to be collateral damage and civilians caught in the crossfire. Someone's going to get shot. Something will get damaged. Like, if anything, their reputation as being penetrable.
Yeah.
Okay, or is enough that can maybe the next group think, oh, you know what, that first group wasn't successful. We should try it now.
And
Okay.
depending on the client that you're looking after or the company that you're looking after, there's always that the embarrassment to them. That,
exactly.
They hire you on as a protector, and something happens, and you pull your firearm, and you've now taken somebody's life.
Yes.
So that is going to be major headlines. Oh, Google security team killed protester or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds unrealistic, but the fact that an attack happened actually works against the team, the reputation of the team. It's like because something actually did happen.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I know it seems like you can't sway like a group from trying to make an attack. But the fact that an attack happens mean you put yourself in a position that they even took the chance. Right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think Byron
Yes.
Rogers, he posted a video a couple of days ago, and I apologize if I got it wrong, but I think it was the French president
Yes.
was walking down.
Yeah, that overhead shot.
Yes,
that we done,
yeah.
Walking through a crowd of people.
Yeah, and there's
Completely-
barricades on both sides.
And he had a protection team of what, maybe 7 to 10 people around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, a person from kind of like the second row, maybe third row.
Yeah, coming in at 3:00.
Yeah. You know, reached over and was able to kind of
Pull his
get
neck
the
with-
president
yeah.
in
Did
a-
you see
in
the
a
video?
headlock.
Yeah, I did. They pulled his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, right down.
Yeah.
And now they're scrambling. And now, again, if I'm that individual that just had my neck pulled, I'm thinking, what is my team doing? You know what I mean? I know it's hard to judge. Okay, that's the first thing. It's hard to always judge
So
when you're
it's
looking at.
easy to judge.
Sorry, it's easy to judge.
Right.
It's easy to judge. However, what if someone had a knife and just sliced his head off?
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, when
Oh,
does
yeah.
when does it get serious, right?
Yeah,
So
he
so-
grabbed the back of his neck. So he got
That's
past
right.
him. He easily could have punctured his neck.
That's right.
Sliced his neck. Easily.
Yeah, that's it. Done. He could have
Yeah.
been killed there on the spot, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things, right? That I mean, the growing learning curve all the time, you know. And again, for those that are looking at the world of protection, you really are, like, you know, you're holding the power of life in your hands.
Well, I mean, like, look, let's not be play-by-play analysts right now, but part of the, if you look at that footage, all those that were on the right flank of that principal were looking straight. You can tell by just, it's chaotic, man. Like, let's call it, it
Yeah.
was chaotic.
Yes.
And as they're moving through from point A to point B, you have to trust that the front of that formation is getting you through. They're making the way for you to go in as a full, you know, as a full nucleus, okay? But and the guys that were looking straight, they didn't have eyes on the attack, right? You know, I mean, that's, again, if there's one thing that you can learn from the video is trust those in the detail to be doing the role within that detail so that you're looking in the area that no one else could be looking,
Right.
right? Because the guy, was his movement telegraphed? Yeah, he was. I mean, he was perched up. I mean, it's hard to see from that angle.
You could see him kind of moving closer and closer.
So
to the
yeah, so it's
barricade.
telegraphed.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of just waving and moving.
Yes, yeah.
He is proceeding forward, and as he's
Right.
proceeding forward, he gets higher because he puts his foot on the barricade to launch himself
Right.
in. So it's like if you watch wrestling,
Yep.
have we seen a guy get caught in midair who was
Yeah.
trying to go on the
Yeah,
top ropes?
yeah,
Yeah, come on.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to simplify it, but if someone is looking in that way, they at least can at least make sure that this guy's hands don't get on their principal,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, props to or shout out to Elijah and Mark James, like with their celebrity protection course. They do a segment on red carpet. So you know, you have some kind of barricade, and you know, you tell your principal to stay back away from the barricade. The protector is on the inside, and you know, if you see Elijah or Mark operate with their clients, their client will do like a fist pump or something like that, where the audience member or the fan has to like
Yes.
reach forward.
Stand,
Purposely. Yeah.
So the client is still has solid footing underneath them. They can't be pulled in
Yes.
to the barricade or whatever.
Hence the fist pump is a lot easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you also have
just
the
beyond the reach of them to
Exactly.
grab their wrist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you also have the principal on the inside, so that if somehow a fan is able to grab the client, the principal can easily come over, or sorry, the protector can easily come over and manipulate the thumb or whatever.
Yeah, and what's
needs to
great
be
about
done.
that tactic, who's vulnerable is the public trying to extend to get that fist pump, not
Yeah.
necessarily the principal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually cool.
Shawn, what would be something that for people that are looking at getting into this world, from your perspective, your opinion, what should they be thinking and what should they be doing if they want to get into this game?
I think they need to do their research. They need to, if they don't have relative experience, they need to get experience. So, and you know, you can't be a police officer without going through their academy and receiving the proper training. You know, I think most police officers, they'll tell you, you know, whatever you learned in police foundations in college, forget about. You know, we're going to train you the right way in the academy. So, I mean, you need training. Security, executive protection, close protection. It's one of the only industries that there's no regulations. All in Canada, all I need is my security license.
Yes.
And I can protect Fortune 500 people.
Right.
You know, there's no requirement for physical fitness. There's no requirement for any kind of training. So I think that's where it's got to change.
Yeah.
And I know there's a nice movement happening in the US with a group of individuals that are trying to establish a standard, and that all companies should follow this standard. So in order to get into executive protection, you need to meet these basic criteria.
Yeah.
If you don't, then, well, you got to take some school, you got to, you know, do some training. But know what you want to do. Know what your niche is. Like, you know, if you want to work celebrity, if you want to work corporate, if you want to be a security driver, you know, you need proper training for those.
Yeah, I think look to you know, one person to look to for that is Elijah Shaw. Elijah knew what he wanted to do in the industry. He shares, you know, I'm not sure if we have a clip of it that we'll share, but he talked about when he was leaving corporate and he knew the avenue and the area within security that he wanted to be working in protection and to build this company. He decided to make a bold choice and he tattooed his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And he purposely tattooed his neck to burn the bridge of being able to do corporate environments. Okay, because that's not what he wanted. To take it another step further after doing that for 6 months, he tattooed the other side of his neck to solidify that this corporate environment would never be conducive for him to work. So he had to be all in. Okay.
And he did it at a time where that was a massive no-no.
Yeah, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
I know. You got like, you know, you might have financial guys who have a sleeve that might encroach on their neck a little because they're that cool. Okay, right? You know, in their second marriage, right, and trying to improve their 21-year-old girlfriend. That's another story. But he did it when it was faux pas, as they say, air quotes. And I thought what was cool though, he knew what he wanted. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be in the music industry. He wanted to carve. He knew with his background that he could own that role with his know-how and his skill set and his experience. So I say that if you are looking, what's cool about what you said, there is no regulation. The fools take that and think, oh, it's going to be easy now. Because you might actually get into a room and be able to do protection at a high, and be asked to do a high level because no one's tested you. There's been no cert program that is court defensible.
And Joe talks about all the time, you know, people get away with things until they've been tested. Right? And until you've been tested, until something bad happens.
You've just been fortunate.
You've been very fortunate. Very fortunate. And for the corporate clientele that is listening to this, if your personnel that is hired is not up to par to what the industry executive protection, host protection, I mean, it is. If they're not up to that par, they're actually, you're just fortunate until something bad happens. And nobody wants to be put in that situation because we're talking about life and death potential situations here.
Well, I mean, the clients, they trust blindly.
They trust blindly.
And I get it because there is nothing, there is no standard that they can ask. You know, for example, are your boots CSA approved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, because if it doesn't have that stamp or seal, you know, we're not looking to hire you.
Right.
What is it right now? Oh, yeah, buddy knows buddy who knows buddy who knows buddy. And a guy shows up. Okay, sleepy, smelling like pizza and cigarettes, saying, "Okay, I'm here to look after someone."
Yeah,
right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right. So, okay, so I mean, we need the standard as well. I think going back to what you were saying, it is very easy to get in. It's not good enough.
No.
If you're going to be a pro and you're going to be here long term, you got to be reading a book about close protection on your lunch.
That's right.
Okay, you got to invest in the money and go down to the States and get uncomfortable, right? And realize you don't know as much as you do know. You know, what was amazing about being in Vegas? We're in a whole room of 100 people, and this is their livelihood.
It's the world.
Mm-hmm. This is their world. They take it seriously. And you know what's so amazing and what's been so refreshing in these 2 times that we've been in these communities, in these specific rooms, is the humbleness in that room, okay? And the genuine community that they have, because these people know how difficult this job is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they know they're desperate to find the other guy or gal who understands how important it is to do this at a high level.
And I mean, the other thing is also that these people are a phone call away.
Yes.
So I know without a reason of doubt that if there's something that I don't know, or I just need to run something by somebody, you know, I can call Elijah, I can call Mark. These people are at your fingertips.
They're lifelines.
And, you know, Elijah has his Protector app as well, which, you know, similar to Byron's executive protection lifestyle. It's bringing these like-minded people together, and you can discuss, it's broken down into different chapters, whether it's, diplomatic security, event security, so you can talk to people that have more experience than me. Yeah. So it's like, hey, I'm going to look after the Olympics and I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Or estate protection or something, right?
So I can reach out to people and I can have that one-on-one with them.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing.
That's what it's about. I mean, I'll quote Christian West, who's an amazing individual. We got to spend a little bit more time with him this time. And Constantine has a one-on-one conversation that we're going to play as a podcast down in a couple of weeks. He says he loves showing up to these things because of how much he learns. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who's Christian West first, so just people get an idea? I mean,
Christian West, he is a very well-established person. He had a company called AS Solutions, which I believe he sold to Garda or one of the main security companies. But I've used Kristen and his company for an executive going over to Davos. Mm-hmm. There's a big, kind of financial event that happens there every year.
Where's Davos? I'm not sure. Davos
Switzerland.
In Switzerland.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically the military lock that town down. It's a highly credentialed, event. Nobody's coming into that town unless you have proper credentials. Getting a hotel is next to impossible. You're probably going to go to another town and take the train in. But it's very, very high level. And Kristen and his team have been doing that for many, many years.
And they're trusted. They're highly respected. Yeah. The valuation of his company was just under $100 million. Okay, so it's just a name and a first and a last name. They operated in 100 countries. And he said to you, yes, I love coming out to these things because I learned so much.
That's right.
Okay, right?
There is no bad training. If you can walk away with something that you didn't know, then it was worth the money.
Yes, perfect.
Now the only thing that I would advise caution against is make sure you know who's training you, because if that person might not be
of good reputation,
then you're learning their bad habits.
Yeah.
And you won't know the difference.
There you go.
So you're learning their bad habits, thinking that it's standard practice.
Well, good people know good people. So even if you don't meet them individually, you can vet it through, just do enough digging. You'll find out the good people validate the good people.
That's it, man. Well, look, Shawn, we've learned a lot today, man. We've learned a lot. We've dug deep to contention the mindset of a protection agent. We've been able to be blessed with your wisdom. And any closing words for anyone listening right now? Anything that you'd like to share to anyone? Because you've always been that guy, Shawn, that extends and takes the work very seriously. Anything at all for anyone listening right now about this industry that you'd like to share?
I would say if you're interested in it, again, it seems like I'm kind of echoing it, but do the research, know what you're getting into, know what the industry is forecasting for the next few years. And, maybe that will be hard to calculate now that we have COVID and all these other things, but, businesses still have to continue. So those CEOs and senior level executives still need to travel. Some of it they can do, a video conference and stuff like that. But I think the preferred choice is to travel, do face-to-face interactions. Yes. So not only do you need to know, about the advanced work and being a protector, you also need to know, hey, is there a better vaccination protocol? Mm-hmm. How to minimize your client from exposure if that's at all possible.
Right.
So I mean these kind of coming back to what we were talking about earlier, it's not just standing there in a suit and scanning the audience. There's so many things that you have to think about because all these could affect your principal.
Yeah, that's good, before, during, and after. Right?
That's right.
Be prepared, basically.
Be prepared.
And one thing that I do, and I mean maybe it's not for everybody, but after a detail, I kind of do a debrief with myself. Was there anything that I could have done better?
That's great. Yeah,
that is, man. Self-reflection.
So while it's fresh in my mind, You know, I'll sit, have a glass of wine, and you know, most clients I have a portfolio on. So like, you know, the moment you tell me that I'm looking after
XYZ.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing scans on social media. I'm trying to find out as much about that person as I can.
That's right. That's right.
And then updating that portfolio when I'm with the person, because I'll learn, you know, intimate knowledge.
Yes.
And then after it, like, okay, what can I do better? So then that helps me with my next client.
Yeah, you set yourself up, man. That's actually really smart.
Because like 2018, one of the clients that I was with, she was wearing a very long gown, like a
flowy dress
with a long train.
Yeah.
I was worried that somebody was going to step on the train, and I didn't know how the dress was holding up.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at public embarrassment and that type of thing. We're at a Hollywood Reporter gala event.
Yeah.
So I was walking behind her, making sure people weren't stepping on the train. And then as she got into her kind of intimate setting with friends and some family, I think she or her PR person thought that I might have been a little bit too close, and maybe I was like listening to the conversation. They didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But they
I like that. They interpreted it as you as eavesdropping.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they asked me, you know, Shawn, hey, would you mind just, you know, going over there a little bit? That's fine. You know, I'm not going to necessarily explain to them what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Right.
I'll stand back and within enough distance that they don't feel that I'm eavesdropping.
Yes. Right.
But maybe my reaction time, if I see somebody walking in close proximity to her, I can stop them.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's why you have your little whip, right? If you need it.
And look, these are all the subtleties, guys. These are all the subtleties. Shawn, thank you so much for coming down. Anyone interested in this world, highly advise you, find a network, look online. There's so many training platforms. And Byron Rogers has training platforms. Elijah Shaw has training platforms. It's a world that you can get a lot of education on. Make sure you are going to credible sources. A lot of people are putting out content that will take you astray, okay? So if you're looking at more information, maybe you want to directly connect with us. We can maybe guide you to the right place. But Shawn does the thing all the time, and he's perfected this craft, and he's still growing, and he's still learning, and he's probably going to spend a couple of $1,000 right after this podcast, and maybe more training. But that's what it is, man. This is the world.
Yeah.
We want to thank you, Shawn, for coming down, man. It's been a pleasure, and we're looking forward to whatever the next new months have in store for us as we dive into 2022.
Yeah, 2022 looks like it's going to be pretty exciting. Can't say anything specifically right now. And maybe offline we'll go into some specifics.
That's right. And there's one thing that I heard in Las Vegas, and this is what they said: the time to get into close protection is now, because
why is that?
And just the way the world is going right now, that the need is going through the roof right now. So if you're looking at coming in, start now, because you're gonna need a couple of years of training and experience before you even get your first job. Remember, it's not going to be 2 days or 3 days or a book, My Life in Close Protection, and that's it. You're an agent now. You're going to get your craft ready. And if you invest in yourself, you will get the payoff.
Yeah, and be mindful that on your journey, wherever you're starting out, be around people who actually take it seriously, understand the investment and what it takes. If they oversimplify it, be wary. If
That's
it's just
right.
like, yeah, man, just you got a nice blazer, yeah, just do it. Just go here and
leave the ego.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Cooper, have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
He lost the word Mr. Mr. Shawn Cooper.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.